my opinion can be swayed for a top 5. But I think 3 players in my mind are cemented, and then the other 2 are kind of just depending on whose argument I listen to. So I would say, I wanna have it all right now, but sometimes you gotta wait for the good thing. Feel like we're going round and round, but sometimes you gotta wait for the good thing. So he's a father, a husband, co-founder of JAK Basketball, and a professional basketball player. Please welcome Kai Williams to the podcast. Today. I'm very good. How are you doing today? I'm good. So, first question, just to start it off, how did you get into playing basketball, or when did you start? So I started probably around like the age of 6 or 7, and my dad grew up playing basketball. He's from New York, actually, and he grew up playing basketball, and we tried every single sport growing up as kids, but basketball was something that stuck. So just, started at the age of 6 or 7 and just kind of fell in love with it from there. And do you have an idea to what it might have been that made it stick, or that caused it to be the sport that you started to play? I grew up having my dad either coach me or watch him play as well in like senior men's leagues and different things like that. So I think it was just something that was like pretty natural. It wasn't anything that was ever forced, And we just always, my dad, my brother, and I have always had a bond when it comes to basketball. So it's kind of just been something that's stuck within our family, and it's just, I don't know, it hasn't really. It was the most natural sport for us to play growing up, and we've kind of just enjoyed it. We enjoy the team aspect of it, and I think that's one of the reasons why I still play it to this day. And now you have a daughter, right? Yep, yeah. It's her second birthday coming up soon. So second birthday coming up. Now, it might be a little early on, but further in life, do you think you're gonna maybe not push her, but like encourage her to try basketball, or see if that's something she'll become interested in as well? Yeah, for sure. I mean, we whatever she wants to go into, as long as it's anything positive, obviously as parents will support her. But I will say that one of my second birthday gifts to her is one of the little Fisher Price basketball hoops. So I'm not saying I'm pushing it on her, but I'm suggesting that she tries it out at least a little bit. Yeah. So at what point did you start thinking of basketball and saying that, like, oh, maybe this is something I could do at a higher level, maybe like at the collegiate level or professionally? What was the moment that you thought you could take this far into life? I would probably say when I was going into my junior year of high school. So going into my junior year of high school, my brother would have been going into his senior year, and he was starting to get recruited by different schools and stuff like that. And I started gaining some interest as well, and we kind of started learning more about basketball overseas and the different opportunities that it presented itself with. So I think, it was always a dream of mine from a young age to play, in the NCAA and play professional basketball. But probably, going into my junior year was when I started thinking, like, I'd have a shot at playing at the university level, sorry. So it can be on or off the court personally, but who do you think has helped inspire you the most in general, or in the sense of basketball? I would say that it definitely has to be, my parents and my brother. We grew up really close, obviously. My mom is actually British and my dad is American, and they somehow settled in Regina, Saskatchewan. So we didn't have any cousins or aunts and uncles that, were close by. So growing up, it was just obviously we had family friends and whatnot, and we had people that we met through playing basketball in school. But in terms of our family, it was just us here. So um, over the course of the year, all their support kind of was a driving force. One for me to obviously keep on playing, but also pursuing the stream. So I'd say that it was just my family, my older brother, and then my parents as well.
Yeah. Okay, and now it doesn't have to be ranked or in any order, but do you kind of have like a top 3 or top couple basketball players of all time?
I think that anytime if I listen to anybody's arguments or anybody's opinions, I think my opinion can be swayed for a top 5. But I think 3 players in my mind are cemented in my top 5, and then the other 2 are kind of just depending on whose argument I listen to. So I would say Michael Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron are cemented in my top 5. But the other 2 could be, depending on anybody's argument, could be Shaq one day, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki. So it kind of could sway back and forth. But I think those 3 in MJ, Kobe, and LeBron are solidified for me.
Yeah, you always have an idea of what you think might be your top 5, and then you think of a new player, or someone comes up with a new argument, and you have to totally reset and rethink all the players all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like anytime the Hall of Fame induction comes around, you listen to people's arguments or maybe their accolades and the reason why they're in the Hall of Fame. Think of Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett. They were just inducted this year, and their careers are extremely impressive. And I watched a documentary on Tony Parker, and I kind of forgot about how impressive his basketball career has been. I mean, I wouldn't say he's in the top 5, but I just players like that, you kind of overlook, and you kind of forget exactly what they accomplished over the years.
That's the Tony Parker documentary on Netflix, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually really good. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I watched it myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So you played basketball for college at South Dakota State University, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So how did you decide on that being the school, not only that you went to, but also that you played basketball for?
So I was recruited in my senior year by a few different schools. South Dakota State being the closest. The other school was Eastern Kentucky. So that was a long ways away, and Rice University as well. So it kind of came down to those 3. South Dakota State was the closest to home, but also I felt like it was the best opportunity for me to kind of improve and develop as a player. So all those other schools were great, but I just had a better feeling on my official visit when I went down there. And fortunately, I was able to get an athletic scholarship, so I was able to get a full ride. And that's where I spent my 4 years down there.
Yeah, so 4 years at South Dakota State. What kind of was that like? Were you playing just to have fun and play, or were you playing kind of to prove yourself and get to that professional level, whether it be overseas or in the NBA?
I kind of did a little bit of both. Like, obviously, basketball was something that I wanted to pursue, so I knew that going to a Division I school was going to probably help open some doors up for me if I wanted to play professional basketball after that. But I definitely wanted to. I always say that I always wanted to prove people right. I never really bothered myself with people that said any negative things about me or trying to prove anybody wrong. I just knew I had unconditional support from my family and friends back home, and they believed in me. So I wanted to always make sure that I was proving them right every time I stepped on the court, and just trying to make the most of it. It was always a childhood dream to play in the NCAA and things like that. So I was just making sure that I was enjoying the moments and making the most of my opportunities.
So you've played all over the world playing basketball professionally. Do you have a league that's kind of been your favorite to play in, or that you think you had the best experience in?
Yeah, so it's kind of I guess there's probably, if I broke it up into different areas, like I enjoyed playing basketball the most in France, like style of play, the coaching and stuff like that. I've had great coaches everywhere I've been, but I probably enjoyed the actual basketball aspect the most in France. And then in terms of life and like living and teammates and stuff like that, I really enjoyed playing in England. I've had some great teammates, and I've actually been able to play with my brother on a few of our professional teams overseas as well. So probably like, yeah, lifestyle and teammates would be England, but basketball and style of play would be France for sure.
So playing with your brother on the same team, what was that like? And obviously you're on the same team, but was there ever a bit of like friendly competition between you two, or trying to see who was the better player?
So yeah, like I mean, we played together in high school, and then didn't. We went to separate universities, so being able to play together overseas was a lot of fun. I wouldn't say there was any competition when we were on the same team or anything like that. Obviously, we'd compete in practice or shooting drills and stuff like that. But there was a few times where we played against each other. Played against each other when we were on opposing teams, and there was probably a little bit more trash talking and a little bit more competitiveness going on in those games.
Yeah. So, back to playing all over the world, of the leagues you've played in, is there one league you think was the most competitive or like had the highest level of play in it?
Yeah, so I would definitely say France or Sweden was probably the most competitive. Yeah, it was the most competitive. So in France, just French basketball is very good. You know, you think about how well they do in World Championships and Olympics and stuff like that. So they're a very good country for basketball. So that was an impressive league and a lot of fun to play in. And then Sweden actually was really good as well. You know, the style of play there, the team's budgets and the type of players that they had and the caliber of their coaches was really high. So I'd say those two would definitely be the top.
And these leagues you've played in Canada, like you said, France, Sweden, other places, of all the leagues you've played in, has there ever been kind of like a language barrier that you kind of struggled with to understand or speak with the people who live there?
Yeah. So in Sweden, it was actually really easy because their education system, kids learn English from an early age. So I remember coaching at like a little basketball camp that our team ran, and being able to speak perfect English with like 7-year-olds. So that was no problem in terms of that. But in France, my first year, it was really tough. I was in a smaller city in like almost like a village type town, and yeah, outside of really my teammates, I didn't speak English to anybody. Like even going to the grocery store, nobody spoke English, and even some of my teammates, some of their English was so bad that my conversations were really limited with them throughout the course of the year. So, and that was my first season overseas, was in France. So it was a big adjustment, kind of going all the way, and basically, yeah, kind of feeling a little bit isolated at times, because if I wasn't in the gym with my teammates, I really was basically by myself because of the language barrier. So that was pretty tough.
Yeah, and that barrier between you and some of your teammates, what were kind of the struggles with that on the court, and how did you overcome those?
I guess the main thing was probably just like staying a little bit persistent when it came to it. So towards the end of the year, basketball terminology was fairly easy to speak in terms of like switching screens and talking and stuff on the court. So that got a little bit, we got a little bit more comfortable with that. So I guess really the only thing was just kind of staying persistent with it, and over time it just got a little bit easier.
So yeah, so your daughter, almost 2, when she was born, where were you playing basketball at that time?
So she was born in England, and I was playing with the Newcastle Eagles, so in the northeast of
Mhm.
England. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you were you playing like in the time around when she was born, or did you kind of take some time off to have that moment with your newborn kid?
So we're actually really fortunate. Her birthday fell on June 1st, so we had probably finished up our season 3 weeks before that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the whole summer in the UK to kind of just obviously prepare for the upcoming season, but also have time to just be at home with her and my wife as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the timing came perfect. It didn't fall in the middle of the season or at the beginning of the season. It was right at the start of off season, so it was perfect timing for us.
And your family, do they travel with you as well as you move from league to league?
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife, we've been together for 7 years. Or 8 years, sorry, going to be married for 3 coming up here. So she's traveled with me throughout the course of my career in different cities in the UK, and also was living with me in Sweden, and then and they've come back to Canada as well for the summer. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So playing overseas, do you see yourself kind of continuing to play in different leagues across the world, or do you hope that one day you can get into, like, for example, the NBA or one of these like top tier leagues that kind of have more eyes on them than some of the foreign leagues?
You know, I would say if you were to ask me that question probably 10 years ago, when I was only in my first or second year, I guess the aim would definitely be to get back over to the NBA or maybe some bigger leagues overseas. And I think I'm towards the end of my career now. So in terms of the NBA, I believe that would be a little bit out of reach for where the point I'm at the point I'm at in my career. I actually really enjoy playing in the Canadian Elite Basketball League, so the CEBL.
Yeah.
So I think this will be a league that I'm trying to pursue for the next couple of years. So I don't know. I really enjoy where my career is at, and I'm not too sure where my basketball career is going to take me over the next couple of years, what countries or anything like that. But I'm open to any and every opportunity for sure.
And these leagues kind of across the world having much smaller audiences than leagues like the NBA or the G League. Why do you think that is, and do you think that it's fair that they have a smaller audience?
Yeah, I think some of it has to kind of go with culture and the sports culture within whatever country you go to. Obviously, there's certain countries overseas that are really, really into basketball. Whether it be Italy, France, Spain, Greece, countries like that. They have really good fan support. But I do think that it's growing in many different countries. In the UK, I remember my first year overseas. The crowds were a little bit smaller, but then we fast forward to this past season, and even though COVID has had an impact, there's many different teams that have their own facilities that can hold 2,500 to 3,500 people, and some up to 6,000. And I know that's not the 20,000 or the 18,000 that would be at an NBA game, but for a country that hasn't seen basketball for as long as North America, I think England and certain countries like that are definitely on the right path to really growing the game and the sport being in high demand.
And playing through this pandemic over the past year or year and a half or however long, how has that affected leagues overseas, and what has your experience been with that?
It's had obviously a big effect on teams' budgets and how they recruit players and things like that. But I think a lot of teams and a lot of leagues have handled it really well. They've kind of forced to improve their online platform with streaming games and content and things like that. But I know as like a player, it's probably been For most guys, I would say it's been a little bit weird. I wouldn't say it's been difficult because I don't think that's probably the word to use in terms of difficult, playing basketball for a living, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just been very different. It's taken a little bit of adjusting, getting used to playing in front of empty, next to nobody or just support staff and the other teams. So I would say it's challenging and been different, but I think it's forced players to maybe adapt their approach to basketball on and off the court, and also help teams to kind of grow in other aspects that they maybe needed to improve in as well.
Mm-hmm. And I've forgotten what I was going to say now.
All right.
All right. I guess we'll. Yes. So playing through a pandemic, I'm sure that may have been weird or unusual. How has like a connection with teammates or being as part of a team helped you get through that?
Yeah, I would say that that's probably been the one, I bet, saving grace for most people. I know I can only obviously speak for myself, but when you're gone and you're away from home and your friends and family and stuff like that, and being able to interact with guys on a daily basis, weekly basis, on those road trips, I think those are probably even more valuable. I know that I always enjoyed obviously practicing the games, but also the road trips and on the bus with the guys. So not being able to have any type of social outlet outside of basketball, I think guys really thrive in those situations, and it's definitely made the time overseas and especially during this pandemic much easier.
Mm-hmm. So, if you did get the chance to enter the NBA and you got to have the choice of any of the 30 teams to join, do you have an idea of what team that might be?
Ooh. Well, given that I'm Canadian, I guess I would say the Toronto Raptors would have. I'll give you two for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The Toronto Raptors would be one team that I would want to play for, and since my dad is from New York, I think playing for the Knicks or the Nets would be pretty special. That would be pretty cool.
Well, the Knicks are definitely one of the more well-known or beloved franchises in the NBA's history. So
yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So you're the co-founder of JAK Basketball, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So why don't you kind of describe or tell us more about what that is?
Yeah, so it's just a skills development company that my brother and I started a few years ago. We actually started it with a friend of ours. So my brother's name is Jamal. His name was Antoine, and obviously my name's Kai. So we called it JAK Basketball. Antoine moved away a few years ago to pursue other career opportunities in the States. So we stuck with the name, and then we've just been doing smaller group workouts and skill sessions over the past 7 years. So it's just been something that's evolved over time. We're going to be doing some 3-on-3 leagues and some conditioning programs, and we have some pretty cool partnerships that we've developed over the years. So kind of just going forward, we're just going to try and grow it from just small workouts into maybe leagues and teams and other things like that. So it's been a lot of fun to be part of that.
Mm-hmm. And what's your demographic in that, or what kind of is the typical age of someone who might be a part of that?
So we basically work with anybody between the ages of 8 to 18. My brother is the assistant coach of the men's university basketball team here, so we do some stuff with the university team as well. So basically anybody between the age of 8 to 18 is our main, probably 85 to 90% of our clientele that we work with, and that's guys and girls, and then we do work with some university athletes as well.
Mm-hmm. And so having JAK Basketball and doing these kind of workouts with these young players, helping develop them, have you ever thought about maybe after you're playing, doing something like training or coaching for other players or teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I think It's definitely something that's going to be that I'm interested in, and probably a natural progression for myself when I'm done playing. Yeah, if an opportunity arises for me to continue on coaching people and maybe coaching teams and stuff like that, that's definitely an opportunity that I would jump at. I would like to stay as close to the game of basketball when I'm done playing, for sure.
All right, those are all the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you online, social media, JAK Basketball, whatever team or league you're playing for now, all of that, where can they find you?
Okay, yeah. So I don't use Twitter or anything like that. I just use a little bit of Instagram, so they can find me on Instagram, Kyle Williams 23, and then our business page is JAK .basketball on Instagram as well. So we're on Facebook and Instagram with JAK, and then the team that I'm playing for this upcoming summer is the Saskatchewan Rattlers, and they're on Instagram as well. They have a lot of cool content and different things like that. So I suggest people give them a follow if they're interested in Canadian basketball.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck in this upcoming season.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.